Now, there's no reference, Liam, to the investigation into the autopilot crashes. Somebody has died driving on autopilot in a Tesla. He does say that at some point, Tesla autopilot will be 10 times safer than the average of U.S. cars. But how big a problem is this issue with autopilot?
Well, I think it could be a big problem. And I think actually the fact that he talked about it a lot, kind of obliquely in the plan, speaks to that. And I think also the fact up front he was talking very much about justifying the integration of the solar panels business with the car business. That was also featured very heavily. I mean, in some ways, I think the release of this plan now is meant to head off quite a bit of the criticism that's been laid out on the company over the past month or so.
Shares dropped, and I wonder, James, do you think investors are tired?
I really don't. I think, number one, from the autopilot perspective, there's still some question of an investigation as to whether or not the technology was misused. I think, number two, we've had the privilege of riding along in other competitor autopilot or sort of similarly powered vehicles. I think the technology is very much here to stay. And if you look at the way the stocks reacted to that news, it's quite minimal. I think the bigger reaction in the last month or so has been the SolarCity announcement, and that's really where I do think investors are looking for a little bit more hand-holding, trying to understand how, truly understand the synergies here, and most importantly, we're talking about an auto business that needs quite a bit of cash already, with significant hurdles, as I alluded to earlier, looming. How much cash are they going to devote now to the SolarCity sort of franchise within the Tesla ecosystem? I think those are the bigger questions that still have been left unanswered.
The business issues aside, Liam, you do have a consumer base here that loves their Teslas. Like, customers are obsessed with their cars.
Yeah.
Still, I wonder, would Tesla be better off as a private company?
As a private company, I think...
like Uber.
Yeah, I think
Uber's private
looking
for now.
back, maybe they wish they could do that, because certainly you can raise a lot of money outside of the public eye now. But I would point out that the stock price is still higher than it was before they announced the SolarCity deal, which is kind of telling. Apart from the consumer base, there's clearly a very, very strong fan base among investors, and I think you would need to see something go really wrong with one of the products for that to come into question.
James, would you agree? Fans and faith in Elon Musk, even despite that, what some people think some said it was ridiculous to even propose that Tesla merge with SolarCity.
No, I totally agree with the fact that the stock has recovered since its initial reaction to the SolarCity transaction. I don't necessarily think that means that people have and investors have given Elon sort of a pass or a blanket pass. I think we're in the midst of a sort of a very bifurcated, sort of binary outcome situation. They're either going to hit a very, I think, aggressive and albeit very impressive if they get there target for the Model 3, or they're going to fall short. That, I think, is where you have to be focused right now. The rest of this, I mean, if they hit their targets on the Model 3, the SolarCity transaction is irrelevant. So I think there's quite a bit more baked into the auto side of the business in terms of expectations, and maybe that's, I think, one of the key reasons why the stock has held up, irrespective of some of these sort of near-term issues.